Hey, what's happening YouTube? Thanks for stopping back into the channel today here with the Rust Belt Mechanic. We've got Project Cheap Friggin Caddy back in the shop today, and we're going to be working on the engine. Timing chains, gaskets, covers. We're going to be doing a radiator, all kinds of fun stuff to make this engine a whole lot better. Go through the whole process. Stay tuned. So here's going to be our pile of parts that we're going to be installing today, and Rock Auto, I would say, has been my absolute best friend on getting parted up for this cheap Caddy build. I've tried literally the hardest I could to try to get everything as cheap as possible and still not have to wait like 2 or 3 months for parts, you know, but absolutely as cheap as possible. And most of these parts have come from Rock Auto. Does this pile of parts right here look like only 260 bucks? Because it is literally like everything. Timing chain, which is a full kit, chains, guides, sealer, it's got all of the tensioners, the seals for the tensioners, all of your sprockets and everything. $79.95, literally 80 bucks for that set. Radiator, 70 bucks. All these other little gaskets and odds and ends didn't end up adding up to all of this, was about 260 bucks, which is a freaking steal for as much work as we've got to do to this today. So what do we have to do? We've got the Cadillac in over here, and of course didn't come with an engine cover or anything, but that's okay. So we've got our 3.6, and we're going to be starting here on the top end. We're going to be getting all taken apart. I'm not going to go step by step on actually taking this thing down apart because, you know, there's a ton of videos, and honestly this SRX is super easy. There's like a ton of room. It's going to be great for doing the timing. There's not a whole lot kind of stuffed into the back corners. So we're going to be getting this crossbar off here for the frame, and then we're going to be taking our intake off, and then at that point we'll do some just fast forward footage and taking off all of our harnesses and stuff like that. All right, well, doesn't look like it's going to be too bad, but we got some work cut out for us, so let's get cracking. Tell you what, for some of you guys out there who said the brute long neck ratchet was unnecessary because it was too slow and you really don't need all that torque, BS. In these tiny areas where all you can get to is one little area and you can't turn the ratchet, these rusty, crusty bolts will not come off so easily. A regular ratchet does not want to get it off, so having that is a lifesaver. All right, so we've got a look into exactly what we're looking at on the inside of our engine for the first time, and it's kind of gross. I mean, it's not horrible, like this thing's not a total sludger, but it is kind of nasty. 200,000 miles. We're gonna have to do some deep cleaning on this. We're gonna get this one put into the parts washer, and then let's have a look down into the actual cylinder head here. Put you guys on a little field trip. Here we go. You can see that there's some buildup and everything. None of our cams really look like we have any issues. There's no issues with our roller followers or anything. No big sludge buildup, so I'm really glad to see that one. It's actually not in too bad a shape for 200,000 miles. Here is one funny thing that I wanted to point out though. Oh, look what's peeking out here. That is our timing chain guide. Just kind of hopped up on out of the cover there. That is definitely not supposed to be there. That's supposed to be down in there on one of the guides. Yep, that could be why we have so much chain slap and everything. I have a feeling this will be interesting once we actually get the cover off of here. All right, at this point, we're just gonna take the other side off. Valve cover, same kind of thing that you were seeing there. We're gonna get bracket off here, bracket off there, get our dampener, harmonic balancer off of there, and then we'll be pulling our sensors and front cover all up out of here so we can see what we're looking at on our timing. Alrighty now, boys and girls, we've got our timing cover all off, and we can see kind of the carnage that we're kind of dealing with here. Here's the guide that was kind of just popped up on this side. It's actually supposed to be bent the other direction and in here, and therefore this side is we're gonna say pretty sloppy. Yeah, it's a little on the loose side. So is this this bottom one. We got plenty of looseness in the bottom one. This side seems pretty tight. We didn't have much looseness there, just a little bit. So no, overall, not really all that bad there. But yeah, this thing it's pretty bad. It's getting ready to go. So now we're gonna be putting this thing onto top dead center to be able to start our timing marks. This thing's got a 3-step timing process where you're gonna time a chain, time a chain, time a chain, put everything together, and hopefully everything is correct. Let's have a look over here. We took our spark plugs here, and they were crappy auto light, and they had some leaning out issues. They've been in there a while, and boy, they didn't look very good either. Our cam sensors and stuff, they need some definite cleaning out there. They look pretty gross and nasty, so we're gonna clean that up really good, as well as put our front cover into the parts washer, get that all cleaned up, replace the front cover seal for the crank as well as for our cam phaser actuators. We're going to replace all of that right there. All right guys, now we're going to need to get off our timing chains and everything, and these Cadillacs are a little bit weird. If you haven't worked on a 3.6 liter before, they do have 2 different timing guide, I guess, setup marks to it. They have a first stage and a second stage for them. The first stage is going to be the lower chain for the left bank head. Second stage is going to be for the idler in the middle and the right bank head. But now we need to kind of do it backwards to be able to take everything apart, to be able to have our cams in the correct position. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put it into our second stage timing marks to be able to get our right side off, to just ensure that our right side cams are in the correct position when we go to put those on the chains and guides and everything for the second one. So let's get you guys zoomed in down here on the crank to be able to see our different timing marks. All right, we can see we're kind of zoomed in down here onto our crank. I've marked our crank mark right here, and I've also marked the marks on our block as well. We've got one right here in red, and then we've got another one right there. This is our stage 1. This is going to be our stage 2. So what we're going to have to do is turn our crank over and around until we're lined up on stage 2. All right, now we've got our crank pulley rotated around, so now we're lined up timing mark to timing mark on the secondary portion of the chain. So now we're going to be able to come up here and pull off our chain on our right bank. All right, now that we've got our secondary chain off, we're going to need to rotate our timing mark to spot number 1. So we're going to take that red mark and we're going to rotate it around. Let's get some light there. And we're going to rotate it around to that lower red dot there on the block, so we get to the phase 1 timing for the left side and for our idler chain there in the middle. And now we're on to timing mark numero uno. This one here for phase one, we've got it lined up there. So now we're gonna get this chain off right here, remove the tensioner, and then we're gonna remove our idler chain sprockets. We're gonna take those off. And then we're also gonna be taking off our left head chain as well. And then we're gonna be getting everything cleaned up, ready to go back in. We'll go over to the timing phase on that one as well. All right, so now we're having a look at the timing set that I picked up off eBay. Now, I'm not gonna lie, for $79.95, this is a pretty darn good kit here. All of the tensioners, 1, 2, 3, both of the idler gears as well as the crank sprocket, 3 chains, all of our guides. Boy, I tell you what, this thing looks pretty darn nice. It comes with all new gaskets and bolts for the tensioners as well. God, all that new hardware and everything that comes with it. Chains, they look nice. They've got their plated links all colored and nice and neat. Looks really darn good. So we're gonna go and grab our stuff for the left side bank, and we're gonna get the stage one all set up here. Now first, on timing our phase one, we're gonna be placing our chain here on the left head. You're gonna be using the little L marks that are on the phasers, and I put a little red line on there just to kind of show exactly where they're gonna be at. You're gonna use the chain for the left head, and if you don't know which one that is, I counted this one up, and it is going to have 46 links to it. So we're gonna line that one up, and then we're gonna install our other chain gear sprocket down here. When we install this one, the inner portion is actually going to line up here to this hole and opening. So that other color chain, you're actually going to be able to see it through that little window onto that sprocket there. So when we put that one in, that's where we're going to line our last plated link up on top of there. All right, so now we've got our timing marks lined up on the top on both L points, and we've got our idler on here. We're gonna see if we can zoom in and see exactly what we're looking at here in this point. You can see our plated link is gonna be lined up with that opening right in there. So we wanna keep it at that point, so we've got more of our slack on this side, because this side is the one with our tensioner. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our arm on here for the guide that will go into our tensioner. We'll put that one on, as well as bolt in our tensioner, and then we'll put our guide here on the outside portion. All right, now after we re-verify that all of our marks do line up all again, red mark, through the opening, you're gonna see our colored link there. We've got our chains, guides, and the tensioner all bolted in. These bolts get tightened to 18 foot-pounds right there, and the supplied hardware does come with the entire kit. So we're gonna put our slack onto this side, and we're gonna go ahead and pull our pin for the tensioner on this side. All right, so now here on our idler set here in the middle, one bummer thing is the guide right here that came with the kit did not match the exact one that we had here for this specific engine. It looked like the 2 bolts would have to come out from the oil pump housing, and from what I heard, you really don't want to disturb that or take it loose unless you're servicing the whole thing. So this one, being not very damaged or worn in at all, we're actually going to reuse that one and then just change our chain and put it in, as well as a new tensioner. The chain on this one does have 3 colored links. They are equally spaced apart, 12 links in between each of them. At this point, we will go ahead and slip this one on over, and then after that, we will put our other tensioner in here that has its other little guide already attached to it. All right, so now we've got our timing marks to verify here on our primary. Here in the middle, time, and timed on that one. Now, just an FYI, the crank sprocket here, you definitely have to use the new one. They are totally different. And if you try to use the older one, it is actually a slightly larger diameter and does not fit with this chain. Just an FYI on that one. So once we get everything there, we're going to just tap over our crank a little bit to the right, so it puts our slack mostly here in the tensioner area, and then we're going to go ahead and pull our pin, and then we'll be ready to set our secondary timing mark. All right, so now we are timing our second position. So we rotated our crank around, red dot, over to the block, the oil pump there on that red dot. And now we're ready to put our components on for our right side bank. So it looks like I got a little bit of bad luck with this Chinese kit that I got timing wise. Looks like when I put the bolt into the idler or into the tensioner guide right here, the shoulder of the bolt is just so slightly in underneath the actual lip of this. So I'm actually going to need to shave off just a hair of this material here on there so this actual guide doesn't bind up and not move at all. All right, we got it able to move our bit that we really need it to there. Got everything still lined up on our timing marks, dot, dot, and dot. We're gonna pull our pin and good to go. Probably not the most pretty amount of timing for the cheapest timing kit that you could possibly get on the market for these. $79.95. We only ran into a couple little hiccups, so you take it or leave it on whether you think that'll be worth it or not. We're gonna find out whether it all works or not. We're gonna put everything back together, run it back through, put new gaskets and seals on, new valve cover gaskets and all. We're gonna tap in our new crank seal into the front cover as well, get everything back together, and I guess just pray that this thing's gonna, I guess, hold together and pressurize those tensioners and work better than it was. I really think it can't be much worse because boy, it was loud, but I don't know. We're gonna find out. All right, something else I just wanted to kind of point out is kind of cool. The radiator, after I took it out, this thing is just cake full of stuff. There is no way that this thing had any kind of air movement through it at all. No wonder there wasn't more issues. So we got our new radiator kind of fitted into place. Looks pretty darn good for a cheapy $70 radiator. Had all the fittings, they all worked, they all look correct, and it even had some mounting bushing. So pretty cool. We'll get that mounted in the rest of the way. We've got our front cover all in, our dampener is down in there. We're getting ready to put our valve covers on then and hose everything up, and we'll see how everything's looking. All right guys, so we're getting our fluids all topped off. We got everything back together, drained everything out, all the old coolant and oil and all that kind of crap, flushed it all through. Get our vacuum filler, filling the coolant, filling our engine up with 530 synthetic oil, and then we're gonna light it and we're gonna see what happens. I always hate the fact when you do timing chains, everything always sounds horrible for the first like 5 seconds. It's like the most nerve-wracking feeling ever after you do timing on one of these. So just if you haven't heard of that, or if you haven't experienced that yourself, you're going to right now. So we're gonna get the camera on the front of the engine so you guys can hear that first startup after you do these timing chains and how nerve-wracking it is for the first couple of seconds. Get this filled and we'll crank her up. I'll tell you what, that's nerve-wracking hearing that clackety-clackety-clack on that first start up. Oh man, but you know what? She sounds like she's pretty good. We'll let her run here for a couple minutes and let's get her warmed up and see how things are going. All right guys, we are all test drove out. It runs great, no overheating, runs fantastic. We don't have any issues with oil and coolant. We don't have any running or misfiring. We are good to go. The noises are taken care of. Glad that got done out of the way. So let's get into how much this part of it has cost us so far. We're looking here at the list. We had the timing kit, cheap one, 80 bucks, plugs 15, timing cover gasket kit. I had the front cover and the front cover seals for 20 bucks, valve cover gasket kit 21, water pump 32, serpentine belts 13, intake gasket kit, 19 bucks, oil and filter, 20 bucks, and our coolant costs us a whopping $19. So where does that put us at for the total? We are at a whopping $1,039. Now, for the total cost, car, all the parts, everything included, we just broke $1,000 on it. So I think we're doing pretty darn good, because now we've got a car that's actually pretty reliable. We're able to go and accelerate, we're able to run down the road, not overheat, not gonna jump time, and we are getting our way to having an actual reliable car to be able to drive and take on long distances. So what do we have coming up next? Next, we're gonna take care of some driveline stuff as well as the brakes. We've got brake rotors, we got brake pads, we've got a hub, because after we got the chain done in the transfer case, you could hear all kinds more noises. We've got brake noise up front, and we've got, I'm pretty sure it's a singing wheel bearing in the right rear. So we're gonna be taking care of that next week, as well as we've got a tire pressure system malfunction light. So we're gonna be checking our tire pressure sensors, maybe replacing one of those. That'll all be coming next week. If you guys have any other questions or want anything covered in this build or for me to look at, make sure you guys leave me a message or comment down below. If you guys have enjoyed this content, please feel free to have any comments. If I missed anything at all, also leave comments down below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notification so you get notified when I come out with cool, awesome content just like this one here today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We've got tons more coming. Thanks, and as always, you guys stay awesome.